Hello, my lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it's time for another episode of Fresh Reads Friday. If you are new to the channel, Fresh Reads Friday is the occasional review series where I talk about a book that I enjoyed recently and I think you will enjoy too. So today I'm going to be talking about The Stars We Steal by Alexa Donne. I got this as an advanced review copy from Alexa because she is a sweetheart and I happened to see her when she had a stack of them, so I was like, can I have one? And she was like, yes, please take them. It's signed and personalized and everything, and the good news is I liked the book because it would suck to have a signed, personalized book that you didn't like. So The Stars We Steal is in the same universe as Brightly Burning, if you've read that one, and I gave it 4 stars. It was like a very strong, honestly, I gave it 4.5 stars, but I don't do half stars because Goodreads doesn't. Get on that, Goodreads, thanks, bye. So The Stars We Steal is set 100 or so years before Brightly Burning occurs. This is about 100 years after, this is the midway point between when people left Earth and when Brightly Burning happens. So it's like right there in the middle, and so things are starting to kind of be a little tight up there in space. And the main character of this is wrestling with that fact, but also wrestling with the fact that their family fortune has disappeared, basically, thanks to her father, and she is in the position where she either needs to figure out how to find a way to get more money for her family, or she needs to marry very, very rich. Luckily for her, Vogue season is upon them, and that is kind of the courtship thing they do so that no one ends up marrying their cousin, because these ships are very, they're very small. Each one kind of basically represents a country. And so Leo is going into Vogue season kind of as a last resort, because she has plans, she has some things that she's working on that might bring a more, an actual legitimate continuous money source, money stream into their family. They've been parked on the Scandinavian, which is her cousin's ship, for years and years and years. Basically, they're kind of like ship royalty, but they have no money. They're like the disgraced royalty. It is a retelling of Persuasion. So in Walks during Vogue season, this guy that Leo was gonna marry a couple years ago, her aunt and father basically talked her out of marrying the love of her life, and she has regretted it ever since, and here he is in Vogue season looking for a wife. And that's not awkward at all. There might also be some political stuff going on because an election is coming up to elect the captain of the Scandinavian, a position that her aunt has held for a very, very long time and basically has no contenders for. And then there's kind of been some mysterious stuff happening on the ship that Leo is kind of on the outskirts of, just not involved in, but just noticing that things are not quite right. What I loved about this is it was really well paced. It kept you turning pages. I enjoyed it so much. There was not a point where I was like, I am bored with this book. Another thing that I really appreciated was she does such a great job with romantic tension in this book. The romance in this book is so much better, in my opinion, than the one in Brightly Burning. I'm not saying the one in Brightly Burning was bad, I'm just saying that I like this one much better because dude is not so much of a jerk. Also, they're idiots and you love it. They're just so dumb. They're so dumb. And so obviously still into each other, and you just kind of want to shake them at times. I really appreciated how she updated things in this book, and I didn't feel like there was anything that was this doesn't look so great in the future. There wasn't anything that made me go, yeah, I'm not, are we sure we're in the future? Because this sounds very 1800s. There wasn't anything that went like that. Yes, things are a little bit old-fashioned, but you can also, we're dealing with the upper crust here, and they kind of like to look at nostalgia and wear vintage clothing and stuff like that. That makes sense. The character conflicts in this book were fantastic. They're all over the place. And by all over the place, I mean they are everywhere. Leo has conflict, her sister has conflict, Elliot they are all dealing with their own issues. It's not simply Leo's story that is being told. We're seeing a whole bunch of stuff from a whole bunch of different vantage points through Leo's eyes. And then the final thing is that I really appreciate the fact that Leo is capable, and it's the circumstance that is hindering her, not necessarily her own abilities. She knows what needs to be done. The question is, does she have the resources to do what she's trying to do? The only two things that I really just not a fan of, there were places where I was a little frustrated by the stupidity of some of these people. They just, it was realistic, but at the same time, I wanted to shake them, and it was not my favorite thing to have ever experienced. However, I also liked it. I thought it was a really good retelling of Persuasion, and there was not enough kissing. But again, retelling of Persuasion, so they're kind of, it had to be that way, but at the same time, did it really have to be that way? Getting into some of the specifics, I really liked the way she used diversity in this novel. Granted, that's something that should be in every novel. I just felt like it was really well done in this one. yeah, it's basically I'm awarding her for doing her job. But like so many people just don't do their job, and Alexa seems to have really done her research and seems to have a really thought through the scenarios that she was putting these characters in. We have some great body diversity, especially in this book, because Leo is plus size and very tall for a woman because she is Scandinavian. I think she might actually be the same size as the love interest, which is not something that you see very often, and I loved it. Also, the things that Leo was struggling with were very realistic. She really has this conflict between what she wants and what her family needs her to like be and do, and trying to take care of them, and Alexa Donne really navigates that really well in a way that like it feels realistic that Leo is hesitating on some of these things, that Leo is putting herself in these situations because she knows it's going to help her family. It's not one of those things where you're like, why just leave them, just like cut time. Like she actually, you can tell she cares about them. You can tell that she wants things to be better for her family. She doesn't necessarily want to be back where they were, kind of ruling space or whatever it was that the Kohlbergs were doing. She just wants to be able to put food on the table and to take care of them. Speaking of conflicts, I really like the fact that all of these characters are layered. They all have conflicting loyalties. They all have places where they're not exactly the best. Like they're trying to navigate some very tense and complicated things, which leads into the fact that I also like that the entire plot did not depend on Leo. Like it was not all about Leo and fixing Leo's problems. Leo was also discovering problems that other people had and having issues being dragged into that, and that was fantastic. Like it wasn't all just Leo doing this and Leo doing that. Leo was being involved in everything that was happening. All right, let's move on to the plot and the pacing. And so the first thing that really like hit me, having read this and having read Brightly Burning, is you can tell that Alexa is into thrillers and mysteries. Both of these books have very like key mysteries. They're not the main plot, but so much of the main plot ends up linking to them or being linked to them. It was really funny reading this, going like, this kind of reads like a mystery, even though it's based on a contemporary Regency romance, and yet we have this mystery going on. I thought she did a really great job, again, of updating the persuasion story, and throwing that bachelor element in there really does add something to the plot. I really liked how it played out. I mean, I was totally there for bachelor meets persuasion, but like the way they worked together was great. You're always aware that at the undercurrent of this kind of bachelor thing that's going on, there's also something that's not quite right. There's something that's a little bit fishy. And the way that it all ties in, I was just like, yes, this is masterful. This is exactly how I would have done it, and I appreciate what you're doing. And the final thing that I really want to talk about the plot is that you are always turning pages. Whether it is because you're sitting there trying to figure out, are Leo and Elliot ever going to get their crap together and make things happen? Or what is this thing that's going on that's kind of floating in the back? Like all of these things that Leo is noticing that are not quite right. What do they all mean? It was so good. Like I just kept going, trying to get through this book. I was buddy reading it, and that was a mistake because, you know, a girl did not want to stop at times, and I was supposed to. And I didn't. I did pretty well until I got to like the very end of the book, and then it was just like a straight shot. Stayed up way too late, finishing this book at like 1 a.m., which is very late for me, okay? It's very late. And the final thing we need to talk about is the world building for this book. This is definitely a light sci-fi novel. It is not your heavy-duty David Weber, that kind of thing. This is kind of close to Star Wars. Like the original Star Wars before we got into the novels and everything got technical and complicated. Like when Luke was still wearing bleached jeans. That kind of Star Wars light sci-fi. Without the lightsaber. I very much gravitate more towards sci-fis that the sci-fi element is a part of it. It's the setting, but it doesn't take over the plot. We're not sitting there listening to pages of description on how certain things work when it's like, okay, just tell me the gun shoots. I'm sorry, I say that every time that I do a sci-fi review, but like, seriously, I don't need to know all 6 kinds of guns that this person could be using. I just need to know the bare basics about this one. And I think she does that. She does a really good job of like talking about stuff. I love how she uses the technology to facilitate that whole bachelor thing, because you would think on a spaceship there aren't a lot of like really in romantic dating things available, and yet she's also like, hi, we have a holodeck. Star Trek move, loved it. And the ways that people have developed technology to be able to have real authentic Earth-like experiences when you're stuck on a spaceship because the planet is a mass of frozen ice, like that was really good. You give a really strong sense of place. Like I don't usually have settings vividly in my mind, and yet Alexa is able to make these things vivid. I also didn't have any of the like feelings about technology failing in this book that I did in the last book, because in the last book, Brightly Burning did have, I have issues with suffocation. This did not make me relive any of those issues with suffocation. I just, like, thinking about running out of air in a book. Apparently I can deal with it in TV, but not in books. I really appreciate it. I really like the world. I love how she's able to balance the world building with the plot and the character and still have this really good story that keeps you gripped. Like, definitely you're not going to be reading this because you're talking about spaceships, but she still manages to work that in there and make it a part of the story and make it accessible. Like, you don't have to think too hard about it. You're just like, oh, okay, this is similar to this thing that we have in the modern world, or this is making a replacement for this other thing. So like I said, I ended up giving The Stars We Steal 4 stars. This is coming out February 4th of 2020. I cannot wait to get my hands on a finished copy of this book. Also, if you are thinking about buying this and you are interested in pre-ordering it, Alexa is doing a pre-order campaign. I will have it linked down below in the description box. It's going until February 3rd, which is the day before, obviously, the day that they come out. Like, you can no longer pre-order it, you're just ordering it. So that is my review of The Stars We Steal by Alexa Donne. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if you are new to the channel and you like videos about books and writing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That is it for now, my friends. I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!